Hi everyone, I'm JD. Welcome back to my channel. I've got this memory journal that you might have seen me share a flip through of, and I finally started using it, so I thought I would share the first page that I've done. But before I do that, just because I ended up taking out all of these different bits and pieces from the journal, because the challenge originally was to, well, that's not part of it, was to use as much as I could from the junk journal kit that I made this out of. But now that I'm coming to actually using it, I don't like my journals chunky. So I thinned it out a little bit. I might take a few more things out actually. And because I like to put my own things in it. Once I know what I want to journal about, I'll add things about that topic. So yeah, I'll just show you what I've done for this first page, which is the story behind my name, and I thought I'd share that for those of you who are interested. So let's see, where do I start? So I put this in the tuck spot first of all because J, my name starts with J, and then let me just take this piece out and put that here and I'll just chat and tell you the story. So I was born in South Korea. You could probably just read it. And I was given the name Eun-hee Park. So first name, second name, last name. But over there, I think that you just say both names together. So it was Eun-hee. Then when I was 4 months old, I was adopted. And my parents, so I came to Australia. My mum and my sister flew over to South Korea and brought me back over. And just to clarify, I know lots of people are curious and can have questions. So when I say my mum and my dad and my brother and sister, I call them my real family because they are. That's all I've known. If I ever refer to my biological parents, I call them my biological mum or my biological dad. But if you just hear me say mum, dad, brother, sister, that's the ones, like, of course they're my adoptive family, but to me they're just my family. So that could confuse some people. To me it's not confusing. But anyway, so yeah, when my parents brought me back to Australia, they changed my name to Juni, Juni. And that was how it's said with the J. But somewhere along the line, I'm not too sure how it happened because I was a little baby and don't remember. I think some family members, like outside family members, like grandma, aunties, whatever, they started calling me Uni. They dropped the J. And I think it was because it sounded closer to this original name, Eun-hee, Uni. Like you can see the similarity. So, and yeah, I think my parents gave me Junie because it was a bit more of an Australian sounding name. So now what happened is it's now Uni, which is a combination of the both, just to confuse everyone. So yeah, I have only ever known or heard myself being called Uni. So that's what I say my name is Uni when I introduce myself. And I say it's Uni but with a silent J. Whereas my dad always tells people her name is Junie, but we call her Uni, which is slightly different. Not sure if you can pick up that difference, but to me that's like, no, that's not right. My name's Uni, but it's spelt with a J. But this is where it also gets confusing. I would actually prefer the name Junie because I love the letter J, and you just robbed me, everyone, of my J. I actually think the letter U is the ugliest letter of the alphabet, and if anyone knows me, aesthetics is just the biggest thing for me. If I don't like the look of something or the sound of something, I don't want it. I don't, just get rid of it. And the U sound, ooh, uni, it's not a sound I liked to my ears. And so I would have loved for my name to just stay Junie. I love the name Junie. That sounds brilliant. But because all I've ever known is Uni, I won't change it back to Junie. Like some people suggested, why don't you just change it back to Junie and tell everyone you're Junie? And I could, I definitely could. And part of me is like, that would make sense and everything. But the other part of me goes, but my name's Uni. That's where it gets confusing. So to me, because it's all I've known, and yeah, I just, now Uni is my name. but I like that it has a J, and I will always mention that it has a silent J. Then, to just erase everything I've just said, because of that whole long story, my whole life I've had to explain that story. You know, my name's Uni, but it's spelled with a J, and silent J. And why is it silent? Oh, well, because I was adopted, and this is how I had 3 names: Unhi, Junie, Uni. So, to avoid that whole spiel, I usually just go by the name of JD. Like, if I've moved to a new town, which I did, I've only moved to a new town once. When I came to Bowen, I just called myself JD because it's going to be easier for everyone. I'm meeting lots of new people all at the same time, so I just go by JD. The same thing happened when I went to Beach Mission, which is a family holiday program run at the beach, obviously. And you're meeting lots of parents, lots of strangers, lots of kids, and especially kids find it hard to say my name. Who am I kidding? Adults find it hard to say my name too. And often you'll get things like, Uni, Ani. It's like, no. And in the end, I don't care. I'll be like, Uni. And they're like, Oni. And I'm like, no, Uni. And they're like, Uni. And I'm like, no. And eventually I'm just like, oh, that's okay, don't worry. Just call me whatever you want to call me. But I feel like other people get frustrated and they're like, no, I really want to know how to say it. And I'm like, no, it doesn't really matter. I'll respond to anything. And even on the phone, I'll say my name over and over and they'll still go, Lily, Bonnie. I've even had Johnny before, which, no thank you. So just to avoid all the confusion, I often just go by the name JD. And they're my initials. So my middle name is Desiree. And my parents gave me that name because they wanted to let me know I was wanted, which I absolutely love that. So for me, that has such great meaning for me. And in fact, well, my name has great meaning for me too because Un means grace, he means hope. And so we always just say my name Uni because it sounds so close and everything. My name Uni means grace and hope. So if anyone asks, oh, that's a lovely name, what does it mean? I say grace and hope. And those 2 words are just key in my life, and especially hope. Like for me, hope is just, it's something to hold on to and I will never lose it ever. And yeah, so anyway, the other thing was my last name, Hull, also unusual. What happened was, so my dad, he is from, from Australia, but he lived his first 13 or so years in Papua New Guinea, and he was born in Papua New Guinea because his parents were missionaries. And my grandma was Australian, and my grandpa, Dad's dad, was actually Canadian. So he was born in Canada, and then he moved to Australia. But my grandpa, his parents were Norwegian. Are you with me? So my great-grandparents on my dad's side were Norwegian, and their last name was Johansson. But when they moved to Canada, they found out that there were lots of other Johanssons and Johnsons around. So my great-grandpa changed their last name to the name of their family, their farm. They had a farm back in Norway where they had Holstein, let me get this right, Holstein cattle. And the farm name was Holstein, is what I'm gathering. And he just took off the Stein and went with Hull. And so now we are known as the Hull family, which is great because it's like the whole family. Whenever we get together and everyone comes together, it's like, oh, the whole family is here. Anyway, so I kind of like that history too. And I actually asked my dad about the history before I journaled this page, just to clarify my memory. Like, who was it? Was it my great, or was it just my great or my great? And he was like, no, it was his granddad. So, and I was trying to get the history of the surname. And so I documented that all here. And this is a photo of them. So that's my dad's grandpa and grandma and 3 of the first kids. So Dad told me that they had 12 kids. And my grandpa was one of the younger ones, so he's not actually in this photo. But my grandma wrote down the details, so their names were Martin and Helga Hull, and they're the 3 kids in the photo, and she just said how it was taken. I really appreciate that. Like, back when I was a kid, I would have been like, whatever. But now, this is like real ephemera, real vintage ephemera. And she gave me 2 of these, and I thought I'd tuck one in here to represent that story, and I thought that was so fitting. And I love that that's what you do with journals, with junk journals. Yeah, so this is like really special to me. Okay, what else was I going to say? Yeah, well, I hope that explains why I say, hello, I'm JD when I introduce myself, but why when you read my name in the comments or whatever, it says Uni Desiree. But that's how I always signed my letters anyway, on email or letters. I'll just go love JD or whatever. And also, JD came from my sister actually called me JD growing up. That was just a nickname for me. And because her name was, not sure if I want to mention other people's names actually on my channel, just to protect privacy. But her initials were T and J. So her first name starts with T and her second name starts with J. And so everyone, or lots of people call her TJ. Only pretty much my sister called me JD when we were growing up. But I took it on. Speaking of nicknames, so I just journal about everything to do with name, and that's why it's a memory journal. And you know how memories, they associate and they link to other things and bring back other memories. That's what I wanted to kind of do, is just like this smorgasbord. So here, this part, I journaled about the family history behind Whole. Here, I journaled about how I got my two names and the meaning behind them. And here, I kind of journaled about my nicknames and just dated it and the meaning of my name here in big letters. So my nicknames growing up, I had a few. Motor Mouth was one, because I used to, when I get on a roll and when I get excited about things, I do actually talk a lot. Everyone says I'm so quiet, but when I get on a roll, I can be like just bursting with enthusiasm, I suppose. And you can probably see that with my journals. Also, I used to love Maggi 2-minute noodles so much that one of my cousins used to babysit me, and every time I'd be like, let's have Maggi 2-minute noodles for lunch. And so she gave me the nickname Nunny Noodle, and it stuck. Like, that's what she still calls me to this day. And it's shortened to Nunny, or Nun. She always just calls me Nun. I don't think she's ever called me by my actual name. Other nicknames. All right, so Desiree is 1D. I called it the 3Ds. There was this plant that we had at home called Dracaena, and I'm not too sure of the connection now. Back when you're little, you remember things a certain way, but as an adult, then you learn the true story, and you're just like, or you learn the truth, and you're like, oh, okay. So back when I was a kid, what I thought was that plant was South Korean. Later, I don't think that's true, or something. Maybe a variety of it had some connection to South Korea. But anyway, everyone connected this plant to me. So it became known as my kind of plant. So one of my nicknames was Dracaena. And I thought it was beautiful. I love the name Dracaena. But Dracaena means dragon lady in Greek. I think it's Greek. And so, or dragon it means, or something like that. And then, so I got the nickname Dracaena and also Dragon Lady. And I loved that. I loved having these 3D names, Desiree, Dracaena, Dragon Lady. And it just worked. And I have to tell this funny story, right? So one of the ladies from the JJ Down Under group, hopefully she's going to laugh with me, and I hope you don't mind me saying your name, Tony. When she went to buy one of my Happy Mails and she transferred the money over, forevermore she said my name, because of autocorrect, was Junk. So I'm known as Junk D Hole in her banking names. So funny. And I have to admit, when I've spelt my name and sent it to someone and said Uni at the end, it's autocorrected to Junk, and I've had to go, oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to say Junk, I meant Uni. But I just cracked up laughing so much that my name is now, I see the receipt and it says Junk D Hole. It's so hilarious. Anyway, so I told her that we're going on about that story, and she was like, yeah, imagine next time if I called you Dragon Lady. And I was just like, okay, where did you get that name from? Because that's actually really significant for me. And I told her that, and I told her all this story and how the memory of it and everything, and she's just gone, I plucked that name out of midair, but I love how it spoke to you. And it really did. And so we just had this kind of connection and this laughter about that, and it was just so funny. Okay, cool. So this is my first page spread that I've done. I haven't actually done anything more, but the next page I'm going to do is this one where I'll write about the cherry blossom and some of my favourite plants and just memories of the plants that we had at home and the stories of how we got those plants. And I might stick some photos of some of my favourite flowers in there. But yeah, thought I'd just share that, a way I use my journal, a look at the actual journal, and to give you the story behind my name. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, actually, just for fun, if you want. What does your name mean? And how did you get your name? And do you like it? So awesome. I would love to read all those stories. That would be so fun. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.